Welcome aboard, Raider Nation. Well, it is Wednesday, and once again, a lot of talk in the media, a lot of things going on. I had some issues today, got a late start, so we're not going to have a guest today. So it was good that I made that disclaimer yesterday. I've got so many people that are lined up, but today I had some car issues, had to go out and get some food for the doggies, and that took me a good chunk of the day. But while I was out, again, this morning I was able to watch a lot of the media, watched a lot of what people were saying about the Raiders, about Matt McLoin, about our chances. I got to see some of the stuff, the things that Derek Carr put out, the photo from TMZ, what it was that Jack Del Rio said, and something is telling me, and I don't know whether or not this is Jack Del Rio just concocting with Derek Carr to kind of try to confuse people. We know that Jack Del Rio isn't legit, when it comes to really saying what's going on with injuries, which a lot of coaches aren't. So that's not that big of a deal. But again, Jack Del Rio's like, yeah, Mario Edwards, he could be back, next week, right? Injured reserve, right? So So again, we don't exactly know what's going on here, but I just kind of wanted to play a little bit of the devil's advocate here. I just don't. I'm going to get into the McLoin stuff, but I just want to play a little bit of a devil's advocate and talk a little bit about why I think Derek Carr will be back this year. And I'm not saying this just to say this. I'm saying it based on some of the things that I'm seeing, some of the things that I've reviewed up until this point. So in Jack Del Rio's press conference, basically he had an opportunity to say, hey, look, this guy's gone. Even if he does come back, it's, we're not going to have him out there hobbling around. If McLoin gets us to the Super Bowl, we'll probably ride with the hot hand, XYZ. He didn't even say it was next man up. He said it was looking for the next opportunity. He had an opportunity to say it's next man up, and he stopped himself. Watch that press conference, and he said, and we move on to the next opportunity, which in this case is the Denver Broncos. Now that kind of struck me as odd. Again, a lot of people are taking this opportunity right now to put guys on IR, to basically say, look, you're done. DeMarcus Ware just today went on IR. A lot of other teams, even though they've got things to play for, they're putting their injured players that are going to be gone on injured reserve so that they can get in guys in the event that they need guys. Not in this situation, indefinite. Again, it's kind of one of those things where you go, wait a minute, why not just put him on IR and be done with it? Then you go to Derek Carr's tweet. So take a look here. Surgery couldn't have gone better. Received great news. Great news. Already started the recovery process. Thank you for all your prayers as I heal up. So again, this show is about kind of thinking. Let's think a little bit. Let's peel that onion back, like the Oakland Knight used to always say. What is great news, and why start the recovery process? The recovery process, there's no rush. It's going to be 6 to 8 weeks, could be longer. You may not be ready until the OTAs, depending on how it heals. There's nothing to play for. There's no reason to try to get back. What is your leg isn't going to have to be amputated? Is that the great news? So at this point, you'd have to say great news is that the doctor probably got inside there, looked at it, said, not as bad as we thought when we were looking at it on the x-ray, made a few adjustments. Maybe the damage to, the soft tissue wasn't what they thought it was. They maybe just had to staple something instead of, completely go through the process of reconnecting it. All kinds of different things. But again, already started the recovery process. So what has already started the recovery process? Now, how do you start the recovery process if you're just in a cast and you're immobilized? The recovery process, in my opinion, would be healing, right? It would be just like keep pressure off of it, take your medications, your antibiotics, don't do anything. Your leg is broken, right? That's the recovery process, to me. So if he means, the healing of the tissue and things of that nature, which I do not think, then of course that might make sense. But again, he says, thanks for all your prayers as I heal up. Again, this guy believes. Now, the third piece of information that I'm going to go ahead and show you here, take a look at that. Isn't that interesting? If you take a look at that cast, wow, that's a big cast, folks. And I talked to a doctor just this morning, a friend of mine, and while she is not an orthopedic surgeon, she did say that something looks wrong about this picture. That cast is way too big. The toes should be exposed. There should be a hard cast around that foot. There are no pins coming out of the foot in this case that would be sticking out so that you'd have to create a huge cast. This is, generally speaking, this is an issue where you make the incision, go inside, and you attach the brace directly to the bone. So again, I don't know. That may not be the case, but this is a surgeon in an ER that told me basically something looks strange here. It looks like there's an air cast, or potentially there could be a walking boot underneath, and then you take the gauze. She said it doesn't even look like it's a hard cast. So once again, if you kind of look at that and you ask yourself, well, what's going on here? That doesn't seem like it's a hard cast at all. It seems like that is just gauze wrapped around something else. And if you take a look at walking boots, and I was looking at a few different types of walking boots after listening to Lorenzo Neal when he talked about how, he fractured his bone and was able to walk on it after a day and a half. With the aid of a boot, and he was able to stay in that boot for 2 weeks. If you are trying to convince somebody that you're going to be out 6 to 8 weeks, this is a great way to do it. You basically take that boot, you wrap the cast around it, you get him home, you get him working out without people, seeing what he's doing, get some weight on that foot, see how he's progressing along, and then you just kind of go from there. So once again, that's complete, conspiracy theory at this point. But as I was sitting there putting all those things together, I was like, wow, is it possible that this may be a way for them to make other teams think, to not prepare as much for Derek Carr? You've got to go in. Matt McLoin is going to play either way, so there's no harm, no foul there. But then the next team that gets prepared to play for you, they're not going to prepare for Derek Carr at all. And wouldn't it be interesting if all of a sudden, boom, there's Derek Carr at practice. He's walking on the foot. It's a miracle, X, Y, Z. And you kind of go from there. Now, he obviously would have to notify, the league and put in, those types of things. But still, like I said, this would be extremely interesting if, in fact, it were not just my wild mind, but if it actually had any truth at all to it. And once again, I'm not saying that it does. I'm simply saying it would be an interesting thing if something like that were to happen, because, again, no ventilation for the toes. Derek Carr's not saying, hey, I'll be back next year. He's saying, hey, I've already started. Jack Del Rio's not saying, hey, this guy's gone. We got to put his health first. He's basically saying, hey, he's out indefinitely. Don't ask me about it. And that's what Jack wants. He wants people to not ask him about it. So with that being said, I saw a few other things before we go to the break. This morning I was watching NFL Now, I think it was, and Andrew Siciliano was on there interviewing Kurt Warner. And Kurt Warner was talking about what quarterbacks could and couldn't make it in the playoffs. And I know Kurt Warner is a God-fearing Christian man, but my goodness, you guys got to go and watch this. He looked drunk. His eyes were bloodshot. He was slurring his words. He came out basically and said, Matt Moore, really like him, like what he can do. Tom Savage going to have a very, very difficult time. And Matt McLoin, just absolutely no chance at all whatsoever. He made the statement, and I thought it was a funny statement just because of who he is. He made the statement that, backup quarterbacks are backup quarterbacks for a reason. And, generally speaking, they're backups because they're not good enough to be starters. And I thought, well, what about Roger Staubach? What about Terry Bradshaw? What about Jim Plunkett, Jeff Hostetler? You, Kurt Warner, you yourself were a backup to Trent Green. What about Trent Dilfer? What about Tom Brady? I mean, we always talk about these things like it's just an impossibility. There's no chance that it can happen. Those other guys that you're talking about, Matt Moore and Tom Savage, they're playing now because their quarterbacks suck. Okay, you're talking about Brock Osweiler, who sucks, and the guy in Miami, Tannehill, not playing very well. Right? So again, they were looking for some excuses. Yes, injuries and things like that are going to happen, but it's not like these guys were neck and neck and they could have won in preseason, XYZ. Basically, their quarterbacks are just not very good. So what you're going to get from these guys is what you've been getting. Good defensive play from both Miami and from Houston. Strong running games, and you just hope that your quarterback doesn't make any mistakes. The Raiders have a well-rounded football team. They can run the ball. They got a good offensive line. They can throw the ball. They play defense. They take the ball away from other teams. So they're much more dynamic as an entire football team. And when we come back after the break, I'm gonna take a look at that 2013 team. And then we're going to look at the 2016 comparison that Matt McLoin has to play with at this point. And I think that, when you look at those two, I think it's pretty interesting because I looked at it this morning and it's pretty dramatic in terms of the differences there. And we'll also take a look really quickly at the Denver Broncos. Again, they placed some guys on injured reserve. Who's going to play at quarterback? What are they going to do? This last game, they're going to try to play spoiler X, Y, and Z. So, yeah, I just thought the Kurt Warner thing was just ridiculous. I was like, really, Kurt? You're going to say that? You were stocking shelves at a grocery store, right, when you came in. Tom Brady was backing up Drew Bledsoe, who had taken his team to a Super Bowl when he came in and didn't look back. And I don't want people to say, Pete's comparing Matt McLoin to Roger Staubach or Terry Bradshaw or Jim Plunkett. I'm not doing that. What I'm saying is the possibility is there. Nobody could break the 6-minute mile till the 6-minute mile was broken. And then once it was broken, things happened. No backup quarterback had gone to a Super Bowl and won a Super Bowl until Roger Staubach did it. And now we're in an era where there is a quarterback who came in as a backup and won the Super Bowl. So the chances are still there for Matt McLoin. Again, I'm throwing in the Derek Carr thing. That could all be, wild, deranged fantasy on my part. But, who knows? So, yeah, why don't you guys go ahead and stay tuned. I got a tweet today. Somebody tweeted to me this video from a person by the name of Z. I'm going to go ahead and play it. Hopefully I don't get dinged for it. And, when we get back, we will delve a little bit into the difference between 2013's team and 2016's team, and you're going to see what an incredible job Reggie McKenzie really has done. All right, stay tuned. Be right back.
Raider Nation, stand up. I tried to tell you we were coming this year. This the Oakland Raider anthem, let it bump in your ear. Derek Carr, the MVP, man, he wanted this clear. Khalil Mack got quarterbacks running with fear, yeah. I gotta brag on my team. 2002, they tried to rob us, but we back for the ring. Michael Crabtree, he's a catching machine. Hey, yeah, I love the Raiders, but I rap for my king. Now everybody wanna talk about the Cowboys, but they ain't ready for that Oak Town crowd noise. Yeah, we got the black hole where they get it loud, boy. It's still God over money till they put me in the ground, boy. Reggie McKenzie really sparked this team. Drafted Carr, Amari Cooper, and Marquette King. You ever need dance lessons? Marquette King and Seth Robertson, the fourth is probably our best thing. Rest in peace, Al Davis. He's Rio, he the heart of this thing. You wasn't loyal from the jump, don't act a part of this thing. It's Young Z in the building going hard for the king. I be trucking the devil like I'm Latavius Murray. And tomorrow ain't promised, thank God he saved me this early. Unashamed of the gospel till they hang me or burn me. My dad's a Prince of Peace, he didn't create me to worry. There's only one nation, that's the Raider Nation. Boy, I got a Napoleon Cockpit flow. Will make your home game look like a road game. You ain't know our fan bases all across the globe. Hey, I pull up with the squad bumping Kingdom music. Wanna know about our God, pump that Kingdom music. He can change your whole life, dog. I seen him do it. Super Bowl 51, let's get that ring in Houston.
Snap. Derek looking. Derek in a lob for the end zone for Crabtree. Did he get both feet down? Touchdown! Raiders! Michael Crabtree did it again.
Oh my!
His third touchdown of the game.
All right, folks, welcome back. What a catchy tune that was. And once again, that's Z, and we will put the address to the YouTube video in the description below. So much talent in the Raider Nation, so many different singers, so many different artists out there, shows, different types of things. So once again, one of the proudest fan bases, probably the proudest fan base, the most talented fan base, obviously the most rabid fan base in the National Football League. That's right, folks. It is the Raider Nation. All right, so what I wanted to do, again, I was going through and looking at some breakdowns. I pulled up some graphics off of the internet, so don't pay too much attention to the jersey numbers or the numbers that were put on there on the top half, which designate where last year they were, or at the beginning of this year, they were putting the numbers for our particular players based on Pro Football Focus's sort of their charts. However it is that they would, rank you from 1 to 100. Obviously, there's guys like Asamele, who they put at 79 or something like that, who's, the guy made the Pro Bowl. He's a beast. Obviously, our best offensive lineman. They missed it there. They put in what he did at right tackle. They kind of mixed it in there with what he would do at guard. So that kind of didn't make any sense. But when you kind of look at it, one thing that Jason Smith, the Oakland Knight, would always talk about was Reggie McKenzie and how he had built this team from the ground up. And I think we kind of look at this and it's kind of like we're that frog or that lobster that's in that slow kind of heating water where you don't realize it, but all of a sudden it's boiling, when you're there, or maybe a better example of that would be, watching your own child. And, you start out by watching it as a little baby, and then it kind of gets a little bit bigger. And you notice it's a little bit bigger, but then when you go and you visit your in-laws, they're like, oh my God, your child is a giant. What happened? Where did all the time go? And you're like, what? What are you talking about? It's the same kid. That's what's happening with this football team. And I think we've all just kind of been lulled into watching it as it's occurred steadily by bringing in the veteran base that Reggie first brought in. And those guys really couldn't play. They were just bringing in leadership. They came at a cheap price. They were guys that could play and get us out of the situation that we were in. But now I was taking a look at this and I sat there and I thought to myself, okay, well, let's see what McLoin had to work with when he was there as the starter. And then let's take a look at what he's going to have to work with this week coming up in Denver. Denver, obviously, it's a hard place to play, but again, they don't have much to play for. They're probably going to sit Simeon. They're going to get Paxton Lynch in there to see, what he's got. They put DeMarcus Ware in injured reserve. I think we're going to go in there and try to run the ball a lot on these guys anyway. I think they're going to stack the box, and I think we should be able to destroy this football team. I think they are absolutely they just don't have anything left. This is the last two teams that did not make it to the Super Bowl. To the playoffs after having been to the Super Bowl? Well, that would have been the Oakland Raiders and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Raiders, I think, were 4-12. The Buccaneers, I think, were like 7-9 or something like that. Maybe eight wins the following year. So, again, it's pretty fitting that it's the Carolina Panthers this year and the Denver Broncos. So we don't know exactly what it is that they're going to do. But like I said, I was kind of looking at it. This is a great dress rehearsal for Matt McLoin. But I thought to myself, well, let's take a look at what he had to deal with when we last saw him in there during that 5-game loss. And I want you to pay attention to a couple of things. This is very, very interesting. If you look at the graphics that I'm going to pull up here, and again, don't pay attention to the numbers on the jerseys at this point, or the numbers on the top half. Just pay attention to what you see in the color bars. So what you're going to see is anybody that has a silver bar on the bottom has been to the Pro Bowl or is going to the Pro Bowl this year. And this is just offensively, okay? So anybody that you see with a green could play for any football team, may not be able to start, but certainly could contribute in a big way to another football team. And in most cases could probably start at their position. And then yellow is just sort of a fringe player. Might be able to start, but would probably more than likely just be a utility type of player. So when we look at this, if you take a look, and let's just go across left tackle Jared Veldheer. Now again, Veldheer was injured. I think Tony Pashos played. I think they put Menelik Watson in there for a little bit. So I'm just putting it based on the roster that they had to begin the year. I'm not basing it on the entire season. So I don't want anybody to come in and say, oh, well, Veldheer only played 3 games. It doesn't matter. This is what he started with, okay? And this is what we started with at the beginning of this year. So again, Menelik Watson's not even on this chart here at the right tackle position, but we know that he should be, and he probably is grading out at about an 80.6. So again, take a look here. Jared Veldheer could start on any team. Lucas Nix. By the way, if you're in red, you've bounced around from team to team and been released before playing an entire season. So you're either not in the league or you've been released. You were signed and then you were released before the season began, or you didn't make it through the entire season. So again, you're looking at Lucas Nix. Okay, Stefan Wisniewski, okay, he was decent. You know, we thought legacy player, not like your uncle, very finesse style of player. Bryzel, again, no longer playing. Khalif Barnes, no longer playing. At tight end, they trotted out Mastrud. They also had Nick Casa, I think, and they had Michael Rivera, but Mastrud was the guy that started the season. No longer in football after 2014, and I think he came in 2013, so didn't do very much. Nick Casa, I think, was there. He went on to get a Super Bowl ring somewhere. I forget where. Maybe it was Denver. He got a Super Bowl ring as a backup tight end. But again, look at the weapons. Rod Streeter and Denarius Moore. Both guys that they may contribute a little bit, but you're not going to get too much out of either of these guys. And that was the starting lineup. Okay, Jacoby Ford was simply a guy that was a one-trick pony. Get down, run as fast as you can, catch the deep fade. And that was pretty much about it. That's what we were going to get from Jacoby Ford. Then you take a look, Darren McFadden, as you can see now, he really is the Dallas Cowboys punt returner at this point. He's going to see some action this week because they don't want Ezekiel Elliott to get hurt. And he's seen some action during the season. But, I mean, he's not this is a guy that, we thought was going to be something special. Just even with the best offensive line in all of football, they went out and they drafted Ezekiel Elliott, and you could see what he's doing as opposed to what Darren McFadden was able to do. Now take a look at what McLoin is going to be playing with now. Michael Crabtree, Amari Cooper, both have been to the Pro Bowl. The 2 Pro Bowl wide receivers as opposed to 2 journeyman guys. And again, I don't know if Denarius Moore is still even in the league. I doubt he is, so that probably should be red. Take a look at Donald Penn, Asamele, Hudson, 3 guys going to the Pro Bowl this year. Okay, an alternate is Jackson, who could start on any team, and Menelik Watson at the right tackle. Clive Walford could start on any team, in my opinion. I think he's going to be something, and I think we're going to see that probably this week. And Seth Roberts could be on any team and could start for any team. So once again, look at this. This is incredible. I mean, look at what Matt McLoin was playing with. Okay, and then look at what he's playing with now. And again, like I said, Jason would always bring it up. Man, Reggie McKenzie has really changed this team. Look at that. Look at that roster, and you're going to see exactly how much he's changed this team. That's pretty incredible how drastically different. And that's just offense. We're not talking defense. Don't get me started on defense, with guys like Tyvon Branch and Brandian Ross was our strong safety. I mean, yes, Charles Woodson was there. He's probably the best guy there. But, Walker and Sims as our defensive tackles, nothing really special there. Lamar Houston or Khalil Mack, which guy are you going to take, Houston or Mack? Lamar Houston, Khalil Mack. I don't know. Jason Hunter, I don't know. Jihad Ward, Jason Hunter. I'll take Jihad Ward. I'll take Mario Edwards Jr. over all of those guys, all of them, over Lamar Houston. I think Mario Edwards Jr. is just a better player overall. You're talking about Nick Roach, Kevin Barnett, C.O. Moore. Those were the linebackers. I mean, not a Pro Bowler, amongst those guys, not a game changer amongst those guys. C.O. Moore was decent. I think Nick Roach was a good middle linebacker. Again, they'd probably be those yellow types of guys. Tracy Porter and Mike Jenkins manning up the corners. Both guys over their prime. I really like, I said it the other day, I said we probably have the better secondary. A lot of people hit me up on Messenger and, hey, I don't believe that, But let me tell you something. David Amerson, when he wants to play, is one of the best cornerbacks in the NFL. He's proven that over stretches while he's been here in Oakland. This guy went from a bust, a guy that was given up on, a guy that got picked up off the trash heap, to covering teams' best wide receivers. You look at Carl Joseph when he's healthy, runs, hits, tackles, leads the team in tackles. He's got instincts. Again, strong hitter, strong punishing tackler. You look at what Nelson is doing with the interceptions. Like I said, we have depth, and that's the point that I was getting at. If something does happen and, we really are struggling with Smith, you can go ahead and you can bring in TJ Carey, who I think is probably... could probably hold his own in that situation. Punting and kicking, it was pretty much the same. But again, if you kind of look at this team, this is just a way, way, way better football team than what it was that he was working with, than what he was working with in 2013. So it's going to be interesting. Like I said, there's not a lot to play for. I'm just on here talking. Again, today was a busy day. I just had some thoughts in my mind, and I was like, God, could Derek come back? And then once I thought about it, if he doesn't come back, well, let's take a look. Let's take a look at what this team has done. How much this team has changed since Matt McLoin last played, and is there any chance that, with better weapons, better protection, a better running game, that he might be better than 1-5, that he might be able to play like a Matt Moore, which I think he's better than Matt Moore. I think he's better than Tom Savage. I think with these particular weapons and with his mentality, he could be better than, obviously, I think he could be better than Alex Smith. But Alex Smith just keeps on winning, and that's the difference, is Alex Smith just keeps on winning. So that's going to be interesting to see. I don't think he's Roethlisberger material, obviously. I mean, this guy's he's been a backup for a while, but that doesn't mean that when he does step in, if this car, no pun intended, if this car is purring and it's running on all cylinders, and they believe Absolutely, absolutely. I'm getting excited. I mean, like I said, I'm ready. I'm ready to see what Matt McLoin has got. I'm excited. I was probably, had this game come and Derek Carr was healthy, I probably wouldn't be super excited at this point. I'd be like, yeah, we want to win the AFC West, but we got this sucker in hand. It's all going to be good. Now it's just kind of like, all right, let's see what we got. And I'm hoping Matty comes out. I hope they run the ball. I hope they open up this offense and we see something that we haven't seen in a long time. Just a football team go out there and take something by the throat. Defensively, getting all over. I'm looking at another 3-4 sack day from Khalil Mack. They've got problems on that offensive line. Like I said, they're going to be starting a rookie. You got Mario Edwards Jr. back, who's just going to push that pocket. He's going to force Paxton Lynch outside. 3-4 sack day, maybe not all from Khalil Mack, but I certainly can see it. Should be a few turnovers. I think if they go in there and they just blow out this football team the way that Kansas City did, Kansas City's going to struggle. Let me tell you right now, that caged beast in San Diego is licking its wounds. This is the last game maybe in San Diego. They got to play for their head coach if they feel anything for their head coach. Phillip Rivers, this is the one time. Just stay within the system, Phillip, and play a good game. Knock these guys out. If we win, it's not going to matter, but these games are being played at the same time. So I'm still going to root for San Diego no matter what. All right, guys, that's going to do it for today. If you didn't like the rambling, if you disagree with my points, this is what I do, and I appreciate you coming here to watch. But those are my opinions. Those are my beliefs. That's why I come on here every day, to get you to think. And to get you to ask some questions and to look at things maybe in a slightly different way. So go ahead and hit me up. We're going to do a big Twitter push out here in a little bit to try to get as many people as we can to go and subscribe to Twitter. So definitely do that if you're watching this. On Twitter, we're at the W2W. Also at the W2W on gab.ai. Our Facebook page at The Will to Win. And obviously here, if you haven't already, please like and subscribe. And I will see you tomorrow.